Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Cocktail Commentary. Perhaps the most serene and sophisticated of all LA bars is the one tucked away within the lush 12-acre bucolic setting of the Hotel Bel Air, located in Stone Canyon, just a mile west of Beverly Hills and a half a mile off of Sunset Boulevard. The stone bridge that crosses the pond known as Swan Lake is the required path for entry into this world of intimacy, luxury, and pure self-indulgence. It took me a few years to discover this oasis in the middle of the hustle and bustle of LA, but finally, and fortunately, I did. The Hotel Bel Air was a refuge. In fact, it was my salvation, and I ended up staying there often enough that I became friendly with the managers of the hotel and with the bartenders, and even with certain regulars, like the handsome, permanently tanned actor George Hamilton, who seemed to be at the hotel every time I was there and was always nattily dressed. He was impeccable, but Mr. Hamilton isn't the only actor to hang out here. Since 1946, the Bel Air has played host to some of Hollywood's greatest stars like Clark Gable, Marilyn Monroe, Cary Grant, along with notables from the world of politics such as President John F. Kennedy, Princess Grace of Monaco, and of course, Ronald and Nancy Reagan, who were regulars as they lived just up the street from the hotel. I was fortunate to have met Mrs. Reagan during one of my stays there. Well, that's the backdrop. And as you can see, this is a story about nostalgia, a yearning to return to the piano bars of the past, especially the most seductive and relaxing of them all, the Champagne Bar at the Hotel Bel Air, where maestro pianist Antonio Castilla de la Gala worked his magic night after night from 1998 until 2009, when the hotel closed down for a 2-year-long renovation. Antonio made his living as a concert pianist in Mexico and the U.S. before his gig at the Bel Air. But after an exhausting day working in LA, organizing wine tastings and lunches for journalists, the Champagne Bar and Lounge was an oasis where I could relax with a drink in hand and listen to the soothing sounds of Cole Porter, Jerome Kern, George Gershwin, among many other composers. As time goes by, Someone to Watch Over Me, and Bésame Mucho, composed by Mexican singer Consuelo Velasquez, with American Sonny Schuyler as a co-writer, were great favorites of mine. Loved those pieces. Antonio could play any tune from almost any Broadway show from the 1920s and beyond. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina from Evita, and Sunrise Sunset from Fiddler on the Roof were real crowd pleasers. His repertoire numbered 2,000 pieces of music, including the great classics from Beethoven, Chopin, and Bach. With a Manhattan in hand, I was transported to another world. The wood-burning fireplace was lit on many a cold night, even during the summer, adding greater warmth and coziness to an already warm, friendly, and gracious atmosphere. This was not what I imagined LA to be like before discovering the Bel Air, but it quickly became the norm for me. This was the LA of yesteryear, the LA of Garbo, of Chaplin, of Olivier. I was hobnobbing with Hollywood disembodied spirits. Just a short walk from the bar is the small lake that houses the majestic swans whose portraits served as the leitmotif of the hotel. Swans were emblazoned on everything related to the hotel and were actually sculpted onto the soap placed on the sink and shower of every room. But the rest of the story is not about music and swans. It's about the bar, naturally. Having stayed in the hotel many times, I became somewhat friendly with Gus, the lead bartender, who spent many years as a devoted employee. During my leisure time, I would sit at the bar just steps away from the piano and chat with Gus. His name was Gus Tassopoulos. I would discuss things with Gus like life at the Bel Air, and various celebrities that he encountered. It was during one of my chats with Gus that I learned that our friend and mentor, Everybody's mentor in this business, the master mixologist Dale DeGroff, got his start bartending at the Bel Air. I must admit that in 1977, when I began frequenting the hotel, I was not a cocktail sort of guy, and Dale DeGroff had not yet made his mark in the world of cocktails and spirits, since he was pounding the pavement, going from one audition to another, pursuing his chosen field of acting. So how does Dale DeGroff, the actor, morph into the most influential bartender mixologist since Professor Jeremiah Thomas, better known as Jerry Thomas, author of the book from 1862, Bartender's Guide, or The Bon Vivant's Companion? It's also known as How to Mix Drinks and The Bon Vivant's Companion. Behind the bar, Dale demanded fresh ingredients, no sweet and sour mix for him. Only freshly squeezed lemon or lime juice would be allowed in the drinks, measuring ingredients properly, and the technique of both stirring and shaking cocktails were crucial. It's not simply about making cocktails, it's about crafting or fashioning a cocktail. The craft of the cocktail is about technique, for sure, but it's also about the artistry behind it. And there is no better fashioner of cocktails, no better crafter of cocktails than the godfather of cocktails himself, Mr. Dale DeGroff. And to think that it all started at that serene piano bar and lounge at the Hotel Bel Air. I'm convinced that the ambiance of the place, the bar, the hotel in general, helped to convince Dale that pursuing the bartender's life and crafting cocktails was his destiny. And now you know the rest of the story.